Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. The day that changed everything started like any other. I was Christina, a 29-year-old makeup artist with dreams bigger than my studio apartment in New York. My life was a canvas of vibrant colors, but little did I know, it was about to be splashed with shades I never imagined. It was a chilly spring morning when Andrew's sister, whom I'll call Sarah, called me. She had seen my work at a friend's wedding and wanted something special for her birthday photo shoot. Her voice was bubbly over the phone, filled with excitement. "Christina, I've heard so much about your work. Can you make me look stunning for my birthday shoot this Saturday?" Sarah's voice was like a melody, full of cheer. I smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of a new challenge. "Of course, Sarah. I'll bring out your best features. Let's make this birthday memorable." Saturday came, and I found myself at a lavish apartment, a stark contrast to my humble living space. The room was bathed in soft sunlight, creating the perfect setting for makeup. Sarah was all smiles, her enthusiasm infectious. As I laid out my tools, brushes, palettes, liners, and an array of foundations, I felt in my element. Sarah chatted away, telling me about her family, her work, and then she mentioned her brother, Andrew. "My brother, Andrew, he's an accountant. Quite the serious type, but he's got this charm, you know?" she said, her eyes gleaming with sisterly affection. I nodded, focusing on blending the eyeshadow, but my curiosity was piqued. Andrew's photo on the mantelpiece showed a handsome man with deep, thoughtful eyes. The morning passed in a whirl of brushes and powders, and Sarah transformed under my hands. Just as I was adding the finishing touches, the front door clicked open, and in walked Andrew. My heart skipped a beat. He was more handsome in person, his presence filling the room. "Hello," he said, his voice deep and calm. "You must be the makeup artist. My sister hasn't stopped talking about you." I stood up, wiping my hands on my apron. "Hi, I'm Christina. It's nice to meet you, Andrew." There was a brief moment of eye contact, a spark that I couldn't quite understand then. He was casually dressed, his hair slightly tousled, giving him a carefree look that contrasted with his serious profession. "I hope you're working your magic on her. She's been excited about this all week," Andrew continued, his gaze briefly meeting mine before he headed upstairs. Sarah chuckled. "He's always like this, a bit shy but a real sweetheart once you get to know him." The rest of the session went smoothly. Sarah was overjoyed with her look, and I felt a sense of accomplishment. But a part of me was distracted, Andrew's brief appearance lingering in my mind. As I packed my kit, ready to leave, I found myself hesitating. There was something about Andrew, an unexplained allure. I made up an excuse to stay a bit longer, telling Sarah I wanted to see how the photos turned out and offer any necessary touch-ups. Sarah was delighted. "That's wonderful. Andrew will be back soon. You should meet him properly." The hours ticked by, and Andrew was nowhere to be seen. I waited, feigning interest in the photo shoot, but my thoughts were on him. When he finally reappeared, it was like a scene from a movie. He descended the stairs, his steps slow, his eyes meeting mine. "Hi again," he said, a small smile on his face. "Looks like you're still here." I nodded, feeling a flutter in my stomach. Just making sure everything is perfect for the photos. We chatted briefly, the conversation light but filled with an unspoken tension. His sister's teasing words about my apparent crush only added to the awkwardness. "Sarah thinks I have a crush on you," I blurted out, then immediately regretted it. Andrew raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Is that so? Well, I'm flattered." The air was charged with something I couldn't name. It was a dangerous game, and I was treading on thin ice. But in that moment, all caution was thrown to the wind. As I left their apartment that day, I knew something had shifted within me. A seed of temptation had been planted, one that would soon grow into an uncontrollable wildfire. Andrew had unknowingly ignited a spark, and I was helplessly drawn to its flame. The days following my encounter with Andrew were like embers slowly burning beneath the surface. I tried to focus on my work, but my thoughts constantly drifted to him. It was a quiet longing, a whisper in the back of my mind that refused to be silenced. It wasn't long before I saw Andrew again. Sarah had become a regular client, her photo shoot turning into a series of events, each requiring my makeup expertise. She was like a bridge, unknowingly connecting me to her brother. Each appointment was a chance, a hope to see Andrew, even if just for a moment. One such day, I found myself at their apartment again. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow through the windows, creating a cozy ambience. Sarah was chatting animatedly about her plans, but my attention was elsewhere. I was secretly hoping for a glimpse of Andrew. As if on cue, the door opened and in walked Andrew. He was in his usual business attire, looking sharp and professional. My heart raced, but I masked my excitement with a calm exterior. "Hey, Christina? Back again?" Andrew greeted me with a casual smile. "Yes, Sarah has a dinner party tonight. I'm here to work my magic," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. He chuckled. "I have no doubt about that. You always do a great job." Our conversations were always brief, but they left a lasting impact. There was an unspoken connection, a mutual understanding that was hard to ignore. It was during one of these visits that I met Collins, Andrew's childhood friend. He walked in unexpectedly, his presence a stark contrast to Andrew's. Where Andrew was reserved, Collins was outgoing and gregarious. "Hey, Christina, right? I'm Collins, Andrew's old pal. I've heard about your amazing makeup skills," Collins said, extending his hand with a friendly grin. "Nice to meet you, Collins." "I'm just doing what I love," I replied, shaking his hand. Collins was easy to talk to, his friendly demeanor making it easy for us to chat. But as much as I enjoyed our conversation, it was Andrew who occupied my thoughts. As the evening progressed, Collins's presence became more prominent. He helped around, made jokes, and tried to engage me in conversation. But my responses were distracted, my gaze often drifting to where Andrew was. "Christina, you seem miles away. What's on your mind?" Collins asked, noticing my preoccupied state. "Oh, it's nothing. Just thinking about the next makeup look I need to create," I lied, avoiding his curious gaze. The evening ended with Sarah looking stunning, thanks to my efforts. As I packed my kit, Collins offered to walk me to my car. It was a kind gesture, but my mind was still with Andrew. "You're really talented, Christina. I hope we see more of each other," Collins said as we reached my car. "Thanks, Collins." "I'm sure we will," I replied, giving him a polite smile. Driving home, the city lights blurred past me, mirroring the turmoil in my thoughts. Andrew was like a puzzle I couldn't solve, a mystery that kept me intrigued. And Collins, he was becoming more than just Andrew's friend in my story, a new character in this unfolding drama. Each visit, each fleeting encounter with Andrew fanned the flames of my hidden yearning. It was a dangerous game, one where the rules were unclear and the stakes were high. I was playing with fire, and deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before I got burned. The days turned into weeks, and my accidental encounters with Andrew slowly wove a tapestry of unspoken yearning. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, each meeting with him igniting a fire that I struggled to contain. One evening, Sarah invited me over for a special occasion. She was hosting a dinner party and wanted to look her absolute best. The thought of possibly seeing Andrew there sent a ripple of excitement through me. I prepared meticulously, choosing my makeup tools with care, each brush and color a weapon in my arsenal to captivate. As I entered their apartment, the aroma of delicious food wafted through the air, mingling with the soft notes of jazz music. The atmosphere was electric, guests chatting and laughing, the room alive with energy. Sarah greeted me with her usual warmth, her excitement palpable. "Christina, I'm so glad you're here. Wait till you see Andrew. He's really outdone himself tonight," Sarah beamed, leading me to her room. The anticipation of seeing Andrew in such a festive setting added an edge to my work. I applied Sarah's makeup with precision, each stroke accentuating her features. My heart, however, was racing, thoughts of Andrew consuming me. Finally, with Sarah ready and looking stunning, we made our way to the living room. The moment I entered, my eyes sought Andrew, and there he was, looking more handsome than ever. He was the perfect host, charming and attentive, his presence commanding the room. "Christina, you've outdone yourself." "Sarah looks amazing," Andrew complimented, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment. "Thank you, Andrew. It's always a pleasure," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. The party was in full swing, and I found myself in a conversation with Collins. He was his usual jovial self, but my attention was divided. "So, Christina, how's the makeup business going?" Collins asked, sipping his drink. "It's going well, thanks. Keeping busy," I replied, my gaze drifting to where Andrew was standing. Throughout the evening, I stole glances at Andrew, each like a silent conversation. There was a magnetic pull between us, an attraction that was hard to ignore. As the night progressed, Sarah suggested a game of charades. It was a hit, laughter and cheers filling the room. When it was my turn, I felt Andrew's eyes on me, watching intently as I acted out my phrase. The thrill of his gaze was intoxicating. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself alone with Andrew in the kitchen. He was helping clean up, his sleeves rolled up, revealing his forearms. The intimacy of the moment was overwhelming. "Thanks for sticking around to help, Christina," Andrew said, his voice low. "It's no problem. I enjoy your company," I admitted, my heart pounding. We shared a look, charged with unspoken words. The air was thick with tension, a longing that we both felt but couldn't voice. The moment was broken when Sarah walked in, her laughter echoing in the kitchen. I quickly busied myself with the dishes, trying to calm my racing heart. As I left that night, Andrew walked me to my car. The night air was cool, the stars twinkling above us. "Thanks for coming tonight, Christina. It wouldn't have been the same without your touch," Andrew said, his eyes searching mine. "I wouldn't have missed it for the world," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Our goodbye was lingering, filled with a yearning that we both felt but couldn't act upon. The drive home was a blur, my mind replaying every moment, every glance we shared. That night, as I lay in bed, the unspoken yearning between us was all I could think about. Andrew was like a melody that played on loop in my mind, a song of longing and desire that I couldn't escape. The fire he ignited within me was burning brighter than ever, and I was helplessly drawn to its flame. The intricate web of my life became more entangled as days turned into months. My interactions with Andrew and Collins wove a complex pattern of emotions, each thread pulling me deeper into a labyrinth of longing and confusion. It was a crisp autumn evening when the tangled web became more intricate. Sarah had asked me to do her makeup for an important charity event. The atmosphere in her apartment was buzzing with excitement. I set up my makeup station in her bedroom, the array of brushes and colors laid out like an artist's palette. As I worked on Sarah's makeup, we chatted about the event. She mentioned that both Andrew and Collins would be there, her words sending a flutter through my heart. "Christina, you're really doing wonders. I can't wait for Andrew and Collins to see me," Sarah said, her eyes shining in the mirror. "Just doing my job, Sarah. I'm sure they'll be impressed," I replied, trying to sound casual. Once Sarah was ready, we headed to the living room. The moment I entered, I saw Andrew. He was talking to a group of people, his demeanor confident yet approachable. My heart raced, but I managed to maintain my composure. "Christina, you've made Sarah look stunning as always," Andrew said, his gaze meeting mine. "Thank you, Andrew. I'm glad you think so," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. As the evening progressed, I found myself in a conversation with Collins. He was full of charm and wit, his presence commanding yet friendly. "So, Christina, how's life treating you these days?" Collins asked, handing me a glass of wine. "It's good, busy with work and all," I answered, taking a sip of the wine. Our conversation was interrupted when Andrew joined us. The dynamic shifted subtly, an undercurrent of tension running beneath our casual banter. "Looks like you two are having an interesting conversation," Andrew remarked, a hint of something unreadable in his voice. "Just catching up on old times," Collins replied, his eyes flickering between Andrew and me. The night wore on, the charity event a whirlwind of laughter, music, and dancing. I found myself dancing with Collins, his steps confident and sure. But my gaze kept searching for Andrew, who was always just out of reach, always surrounded by others. As the evening came to a close, Sarah insisted we take a group photo. We all huddled together, smiles plastered on our faces. The flash of the camera captured the moment, but it couldn't capture the turmoil beneath the surface. After the event, Andrew offered to walk me to my car. The night was cool, the stars twinkling above us like distant beacons. "Thanks for tonight, Christina. You always bring something special to these events," Andrew said, his voice soft. "It's my pleasure, Andrew. I enjoy being part of these nights," I replied, feeling the weight of his gaze. We reached my car, and there was a moment of hesitation. The air between us was charged with unspoken words and feelings. "Good night, Christina. Drive safely," Andrew said, stepping back. "Good night, Andrew," I replied, my heart heavy as I got into my car. Driving home, the city lights blurred past me, reflecting the chaos of my emotions. The tangled web of my feelings for Andrew and my growing friendship with Collins was becoming more complex by the day. Each interaction, each look, and each word added another layer to the intricate pattern, pulling me deeper into a maze from which there seemed no escape. Lying in bed that night, the events of the evening replayed in my mind. The laughter, the music, the dancing, it all felt like a dream. But it was the moments with Andrew that lingered, haunting me with their intensity. The unspoken yearning, the hidden glances, the subtle touches, they were threads in a web that was slowly ensnaring my heart. The autumn leaves had begun to fall, painting the city in hues of orange and red. It was during this season of change that my life, too, began to unravel in ways I never anticipated. The intricate dance of my emotions with Andrew and Collins had reached a crescendo, leading to a fall that would change everything. It all started with a seemingly innocent invitation from Sarah. She was hosting a small get-together at her apartment and insisted I come, not just as her makeup artist, but as a friend. The thought of seeing Andrew there sent a mix of excitement and apprehension through me. I arrived at Sarah's place, the familiar setting now tinged with a sense of foreboding. The apartment was warmly lit, the soft glow of candles creating a cozy ambience. As guests mingled and laughed, I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Andrew was there, looking effortlessly charming in a casual sweater and jeans. Our eyes met across the room, and for a moment, everything else faded away. It was a look full of unspoken words, a connection that we both felt but never acknowledged. "Christina, I'm glad you could make it," Andrew said as I approached him, a warm smile on his face. "Thanks for having me, Andrew. It's always nice to be here," I replied, trying to sound upbeat. As the night progressed, Collins made his presence known. He was more attentive than usual, his comments and jokes making me laugh despite the turmoil inside me. "Christina, you bring so much life to these gatherings. It's always a pleasure to have you around," Collins said, his gaze lingering a little too long. I smiled, grateful for his kindness, but my heart ached for another. The turning point of the evening came unexpectedly. Sarah suggested a game of truth or dare, a playful diversion that quickly turned serious. When it was my turn, I chose truth, a decision I would soon regret. "Christina, have you ever been in love?" Sarah asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. The question caught me off guard, and for a moment, I hesitated. Andrew's gaze was on me, intense and searching. "Yes, I have," I answered quietly, my eyes meeting Andrew's. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension filling the room. The rest of the game passed in a blur, my mind racing with the implications of my admission. As the party wound down, I found myself alone on the balcony, the cool night air a welcome relief. That's when Andrew joined me, the moonlight casting shadows on his face. "Christina, about earlier," Andrew began, his voice hesitant. I turned to face him, my heart pounding. "Yes, Andrew." There was a pause, a moment where everything seemed to hang in the balance. "I think I understand," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. The confession hung in the air between us, a fragile truth that could shatter at any moment. We stood there, lost in a moment that was both beautiful and heartbreaking. It was then that Collins came looking for us, his arrival breaking the spell. "Hey, you too. Everyone's leaving. Are you coming?" Collins asked, his voice cutting through the silence. The moment was gone, the unspoken words left hanging in the chilly night air. I left the party with a heavy heart, the drive home a lonely journey of reflection. The fall had begun, a descent into a reality I was unprepared for. My feelings for Andrew, no longer a secret, had set in motion events that I could not control. And Collins, ever present, remained a constant reminder of the complicated web I was entangled in. That night, as I lay in bed, the moon casting shadows across my room, I realized the gravity of my situation. The fall was not just about my emotions, it was about choices, consequences, and the inevitable change that comes with facing the truth. Andrew, Collins, Sarah, we were all part of a story that was unraveling, each of us falling in our own way, caught in a web of our own making. The crispness of the autumn air had given way to the biting cold of winter, a perfect reflection of the chill that had settled in my heart. The tangled web of my emotions, once a source of thrilling mystery, had become a suffocating trap. The price of my betrayal, a cost too heavy to bear, was becoming increasingly clear. It all unraveled one fateful evening. Sarah had planned a small gathering, a chance to celebrate the holiday season. Despite the cheer and festivities around me, a sense of dread loomed over me. Andrew and Collins were both there, their presence a constant reminder of the complicated situation I had entangled myself in. The evening started with laughter and light conversation, the apartment adorned with festive decorations. I tried to immerse myself in the joy of the season, but my interactions with Andrew were strained, the unspoken tension between us palpable. "Christina, are you okay? You seem a bit off tonight," Sarah asked, her brow furrowed in concern. "I'm fine, Sarah. Just a bit tired, I guess," I replied, forcing a smile. As the night wore on, I found myself alone with Andrew in the kitchen, a moment I had both anticipated and dreaded. "Christina, we need to talk about what's happening between us," Andrew said, his voice serious. I nodded, my heart racing. I know, Andrew. I've been feeling it too. The conversation that followed was a dance around our feelings, a careful navigation of the truth we both knew but were afraid to confront. Just as we were about to delve deeper, Collins walked in, his arrival shattering the fragile moment. Hey, are you two coming? We're about to start the gift exchange, Collins said, oblivious to the tension. The rest of the evening was a blur of forced smiles and hollow laughter. The gift exchange, a time of joy and sharing, felt like a charade, each present a symbol of the happiness I longed for but couldn't have. After the guests had left, I stayed back to help clean up. That's when Collins confronted me, his expression a mix of confusion and frustration. Christina, what's going on with you and Andrew? I can't help but notice something's off, Collins pressed, his gaze piercing. I hesitated, the truth a heavy burden on my lips. Collins, it's complicated. I don't think I can explain it right now. His response was a mix of anger and disappointment, a reaction that caught me off guard. You're playing with fire, Christina. And it's not just you who's going to get burned, Collins warned before leaving the room. I stood there, alone in the aftermath of his words, the reality of my situation sinking in. The drive home was a solitary journey, each mile a reflection of the distance I had put between myself and the people I cared about. As I lay in bed that night, the events of the evening replayed in my mind. The laughter, the conversations, the stolen moments with Andrew, it all felt like a dream from which I was slowly waking up. The price of my betrayal was becoming clear, a cost that was more than just emotional. My friendship with Sarah, my complicated relationship with Andrew, and the bond once shared with Collins, they were all at stake. The winter night was long and sleepless, the moon casting a pale light through my window. The price of betrayal, I realized, was not just the loss of love or friendship. It was the loss of oneself, a part of me that I had surrendered in pursuit of something that was never truly mine. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I knew that the path ahead would be one of reckoning and redemption, a journey to reclaim the pieces of myself that I had lost in the fall.